But I know there's some of you guys that are new to gardening and you're unfamiliar with what we call potting up or up potting. And all that is when you start some seeds and they grow and it's time to take them out of a smaller pot and move them into a bigger pot. Today, we're going to pot some of these things up. Well, hello, backyard vegetable gardeners. Welcome to the Backyard Vegetable Gardening channel. Today's February the 24th, 2024. I sure hope you're having a great day. Well, today's video, it might be broke up into two videos because I learned a lesson the other day, folks. When I got ahead of myself with those seed potatoes and I didn't make a video, I felt really bad. And today I was in the office just checking things out, making sure the seedlings were doing good, and I realized I needed to do something with this lettuce that we was growing. If you've been following the channel or Facebook or Instagram, you've seen we had an indoor office garden. And to be honest with you, that's one of my little delights in life. I love coming to the garden. Every time I want a salad, whether it's hot or cold, I've got a salad, and the grandbabies really do love it, especially one of my granddaughters. She absolutely loves it. The first thing she says is, "Papa, can we go get some salad?" And we'll come in here and we'll get few leaves of lettuce, some garlic chives, or some green onions. At one time we even had radishes and carrots growing in here, and boy, she just had her time. And I was thinking about starting another one, and I haven't made my mind up whether I'm going to do that or not, so if I do, we'll break it up into two videos. But today we're going to pot some of these things up, and honestly I was just going to transplant them, but I know there's some of you guys that are new to gardening and you're unfamiliar with what we call potting up or up potting. And all that is when you start some seeds and they grow and it's time to take them out of a smaller pot and move them into a bigger pot. And what you probably can't see is in this little cup there is 1, 2, 3, there's at least 3 lettuce plants growing in here. And I could snip them and let one grow, or I could up pot them, put them into their own pots, their own cups, and let them grow healthy. And normally we would do that during the seed starting season. You wouldn't want to do that about any other time. With our office garden, we've got these nice little self-watering containers we picked up at Lowe's Hardware, and those seem to work great for indoors. But for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take these lettuce plants that I've got growing in this tray, and we're going to put them in their own pots. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix up some potting soil. Now, if you've been following the channel, watching along with us, you've seen where we took some cocoa coir and some perlite and we made a seed starting mix. That's plenty fine to start your seeds, but if you're going to up pot them into something, you could still do that, but you're probably going to want to give them some nutrition now. So we're going to mix in some nice compost and manure. We've had a couple bags of this left over from last year. I was really happy. Had it under the carport, been well protected. Now the one thing you're going to need to know with the cocoa coir and the perlite mixture, that was sterile. There was no bugs in it. With the compost and manure, there's the chance that there's going to be some eggs and some larvae and all that good stuff, maybe even some full-grown bugs. And if you bring that inside, you're going to bring the bugs inside. Now, I'm hoping that where we left this under the carport, protected from the weather, not sitting on the ground in the cold, that maybe it killed all that. But I am aware that some of those, if some critters did get in there, they could have left their eggs and those eggs would have went dormant. Now, one thing you can do, and I didn't do it this time because they're not going to stay in these cups too awful long, at least I don't plan on it, is you can take you some boiling water and pour it over top of your compost or your potting soil, which if you bought store-bought potting soil, and that will sterilize your mixture. You can also put it in the oven. I've never done that. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where people cram in their ovens, and honestly, I think that's what they do when you buy an indoor potting mix. I'm pretty sure they put it in an oven so that heat can kill off everything in it. Now, I'm not going to that extreme, and I'm not making fun of you if that's what you do. I prefer the boiling water method because it just seems to be a lot easier method for us, especially with these tubs like we got here. So the potting mix that we're using today is our seed starting mix, which was 70% cocoa coir and 30% perlite. And we're just adding an equal part of this compost and manure. So it's going to be 2 parts compost manure to 2 parts, or let's do it simpler. It's going to be 1 part compost manure to 1 part cocoa coir, and a half part or a little bit less than that of the perlite. And that's going to be all we need. We're just wanting to give them a little bit of nutrition so we don't have to keep throwing the fertilizer on there. So I'm going to mix this stuff up. Folks, I'm trying this out here. I've got the main camera up in front of me, and I'm using my cell phone over here. And you might watch me every now and again reach over there and look and to see if that cell phone is going to, if that smartphone is still going to record, because if you've ever recorded with your phone for any length of time, you'll notice that it'll reach a certain length and it'll quit. It has nothing to do with how much storage remaining on your phone. For some reason, they have that limitation. I guess it's to keep them from getting hot. I don't know. But we're just going to mix this up. All right, so that seems to be pretty good. Now, one thing that I'm going to mention straight away is a lot of this compost manure is going to have a few sticks in it. I just tossed them to the side. We don't want that in it. If I had a sifter, I'd sift it. My sifter's outside. I'm not really going to go to the trouble of doing all that for such a little batch here. But that's all there is to it, folks. 1 part manure, compost manure, 1 part cocoa coir, about a half part, a little bit less of the perlite. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix it into these little cups like we've done before here. Little 9x14 tray, just one of the few I've got laying around. We don't normally use them, normally use the 10x20. But in these little, I think they're 2.5-inch cups, fit great in there. And just like we would normally do, we're going to fill our cups. And the mixture has already been pre-moistened. Probably important that I mention that in case you haven't watched any of the other videos. You want to make sure that your mixture, whether it's your seed starting mix or your potting soil mixture, is pre-moistened. Now I'm going to come back and water this in again in a little bit, but we'll just get our cups filled. When we do, we'll come right back to the video. And one thing I ought to mention when you're filling your cups, you want to firm them in, but you don't want to pack them too awful tight. You want to leave some room for the air. Now we got the perlite in there to help the soil stay aerated, allow some oxygen to get down to the roots. But you don't want to cram them too awful tight, just firm, gently firm. So now we got all our cups filled with soil. We're going to water them in. Like I said, this has already been pre-moistened, but I'm going to moisten it again to make sure all this settles good in the cups. Don't want to over moisten it. In case you don't know, when you pre-moisten your mix, you want to be able to squeeze it into a ball but no water come out. You want it to hold its shape fairly well, but you don't want it to be like a wet sponge squeezing any water out of it. So we water it in so all this soil settles in the cups and makes it better for everything as things go on. You don't have big pockets of air developing because you want your plants to be surrounded by that soil. You want them nestled in good and snug. Now let's grab us one of our cups over here. And this is some Waldman's dark green lettuce. We planted it on January 30th, so it's been in here about, what, 25 days or so, and it's looking pretty good. You can do whatever you want. You can use a spoon, you can use a fork. Sorry folks, had to break away. As I was saying, you can use a spoon or a fork, and I had forgotten mine on the other side of the room. So we got these nice little utensils here. I don't even know where we bought these at, but it's just a little bitty old fork. And for this cup, I'm not going to go through all that. Changed my mind. I'm just going to reach in there and I'm going to pop out, be real careful with my plant. I'm just going to pop this ball out. And you can see good healthy roots all over the place here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be gentle and I'm going to break this up. Now the one thing I'm going to tell you with lettuce, you don't want to be too rough with it. You don't have to treat it like you're going to kill it. Don't be so violent with it, but it's fairly tough. All these plants are really. Some plants you got to be more careful than others. But when we first started doing this, I was terrified to do this right here. Now the one thing I'm more careful about is these leaves, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull these apart. I'm going to lay them on the cup. So just like we counted earlier, we've got 4 lettuce plants now. Good deal. And I am going to use one of these little tools, a little dibbler, I think that's what they call it. And I'm just going to stick it down in the middle of this cup, and I'm going to water me out a good hole. And I'm going to make sure those roots go all the way down in there. Now, don't be too awful scared. Just stick your finger down in there and push them. Now, I do like to use this little tool here. It seems to help pretty good. But you want to just get that lettuce back to the same height that you took it out of that cup. And then just firm the soil around it here. And I think I'm going to have to push that down just a little bit more. And there we go. And that right there will work into a good plant. So now we're going to do the rest of these like that. Just lay the plant out of the way, take your little dibbler, make you a good sized hole here. Take them roots, stick them way down there, try to get them all in there best you can, and just firm the soil back around it. And that's all there is to potting up your seedlings. Now the one thing we always tell you, don't forget to label your plants. Especially, I've got 4 different varieties of lettuce here. Want to make sure I keep track of which variety is which, because I just figured out that I've got 10 lettuce plants here. I cannot grow that in the indoor garden, especially during seed starting time. So many of these will go outside in the polytunnel, so that'll be good. We've got a little hoop structure built over one of the beds, and we've got the framework ready for the other beds. So we'll probably be taking a good number of these outside. By the time we get done, we'll probably have, I guess, 30 or 40 plants, and maybe some of the folks at church will be getting some lettuce, who knows. So when you're starting your seeds indoors, you might have to pot them up. Now, we don't normally like to do this. When I sowed them so thick in these little cups here, I had every intention on just thinning them out and planting them in one of them self-watering containers and keeping them inside the garden here. But being I learned the lesson that I did with the seed potatoes, and I was shooting this video so you guys could see how to pot up your seedlings to make transplants, I think now I'm going to take these outside. So I hope it was a help to you. Hope it was a blessing. If it is, like always, if you found this video enjoyable or you learned something, well, why don't you hit that like button? Maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to share it with your friends. And that'll wrap up this video, folks. Thank you for joining us. And as always, I sure hope you're having a great day.